Quadratic equations with coefficients as fractions. All right, first thing we need to do is get the x by itself because there's only two terms. If there were three terms, we're going to be factoring it with the double parentheses. That's coming, you betcha. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move this 3/4 to the other side by adding its opposite. Now we need to get rid of that 2/3. How do we get rid of a factor coefficient of 2/3? You multiply by its inverse. You just flip it over. That's what you're going to multiply both sides by. So 3/2 times 2/3 is 1, but we never write 1 as a factor because it's everywhere. So 3/4 times 3/2 is 9/8. Now we take the square root of both sides. Remember, when we take the square root, we're going to get a plus or minus factor. So we got an x equals the square root of 9/8, but that's a plus or minus 9/8. So now we can break those up into their own little separate houses, right? Their own little radicals. So it's the square root of 9/8 is the same as square root of 9 over the square root of 8. We know that the square root of 9 is 3, right? We don't have to do the plus or minus thing more than once because if you have a minus in front and a minus in back, it's going to change it into a plus, vice versa. But let me just, the plus or minus factor, you only have to do once. But now we have a problem. We have a denominator that's an irrational number, right? It doesn't end. So we need to rationalize the denominator by multiplying it by itself. Square root of 8 times the square root of 8 is the square root of 8 squared, which is just 8 on the bottom. But now the square root of 8, let's get some working room here. Square root of 8 comes out to be the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. I did that because I know that the square root of 4 is 2. But let's break them down into their own little separate radicals as long as we're multiplying or dividing. And the square root of 4 is 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. So we have 6 times the square root of 2 on top, 8 on the bottom. Rewrite it without that dot. That dot represents multiplication. But now this is going to reduce a little bit. You both have you have a even number as a factor, even number as a factor. That means we can take out a factor of 2. 6 is 2 times 3. 8 is 2 times 4. The 2's cancel, right? That's the same as multiplying by 1. That's what we call canceling. So we are done, and that looks like the answer to me. X equals plus or minus 3 times the square root of 2 divided by 4. MGZ out.